At the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, President Donald J. Trump delivered a forceful speech, rejecting what he called a destructive form of globalism and outlining his vision for stronger national sovereignty. He described a world battered by conflicts and cultural upheaval and urged nations to join against what he identified as the real threats: terrorism, uncontrolled migration, biological warfare, and the erosion of cultural identity. World leaders filled the hall on the first day of the high-level debate, many focusing on efforts to stop the fighting in Gaza and the war in Ukraine. In a nearly hour-long address, President Trump argued the United Nations has fallen short of its promise and questioned its effectiveness, while insisting the United States is stronger now, pointing to what he called more secure borders, a more powerful military, and stronger international relationships. Opening his remarks, Trump contrasted the state of the country 1 year ago with its condition today, saying that 8 months into his administration, the United States is the hottest country anywhere in the world, and unmatched by others. He repeatedly framed America as a model of strength for others to emulate.
1 year ago, our country was in deep trouble, but today, just 8 months into my administration, we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, and there is no other country even close. America is blessed with the strongest economy, the strongest borders, the strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation on the face of the earth. This is indeed the golden age of America. On the world stage, America is respected again like it has never been respected before.
Turning to the United Nations itself, he criticized the organization for issuing statements and resolutions without following up with action. He posed a blunt question about the UN's purpose and said that strongly worded letters and empty declarations do not stop wars. Action does. He also cast himself as a peacemaker, stating that his initiatives have resolved conflicts and saved lives, arguing that the real reward, more than prizes, is that people survive to raise their children.
In a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. Now, after ending all of these wars and also earlier negotiating the Abraham Accords, which is a very big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with the mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars.
On Russia and the Ukraine war, Trump warned he was ready to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs on Moscow if Russia refused to negotiate a peace. But he pressed European nations to reduce their dependence on Russian oil and gas, saying it makes no sense to oppose Russia while continuing to buy its energy. He singled out China and India for continuing to purchase Russian oil, and criticized even some NATO countries for not doing more to cut off Russian energy purchases. He said that for U.S. tariffs to be effective, European nations would have to adopt identical measures.
I've also been working relentlessly, stopping the killing in Ukraine. I thought that would be, of the 7 wars that I stopped, I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one. I thought that was going to be the easiest one. But you know, in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. No matter what happens from here on out, this was something that should have taken a matter of days, certainly less than a week. And they've been fighting for 3.5 years. This war would never have started if I were president. This was a war that should have never happened. The only question now is how many more lives will be needlessly lost on both sides. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products. In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. But they have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here.
On migration and climate policy, Trump urged other countries to follow the U.S. approach to immigration. He called uncontrolled migration the #1 political issue of our time, warned that it is ruining many countries, and told the assembled leaders that, in his view, their nations are going to hell if they do not get migration under control. He also attacked policies aimed at fighting climate change, calling climate alarmism a green scam, and urging nations to step away from aggressive decarbonization plans, pointing to his administration's withdrawal from the Paris Agreement as an example.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving like never before. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. Europe, on the other hand, has a long way to go, with many countries being on the brink of destruction because of the green energy agenda. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, this climate change, it's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail.
Regarding the war between Israel and Hamas, Trump said the international community must come together to end the fighting in Gaza, and pressed for the immediate release of hostages. He criticized moves by several countries to recognize Palestinian statehood without broader agreement, saying such recognition risks rewarding Hamas and encouraging further violence. Trump repeatedly referenced the October 7, 2023 attack and argued that those seeking peace should unite behind the single message: release the hostages now. He noted recent recognitions of Palestinian statehood by several countries and warned against unilateral steps that, in his view, embolden terrorists.
As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, they have taken so much. This could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Just release the hostages now. Thank you.
On criminal networks and narcotics, Trump described recent U.S. strikes against groups he called narco-terrorists and said his administration has used military force against trafficking networks linked to Venezuela. He said he has designated several large drug cartels and violent transnational gangs as foreign terrorist organizations, and he warned traffickers that the U.S. will act to stop them. He cited the toll of fentanyl and other drugs and urged aggressive action, saying that the destruction of trafficking operations is necessary to protect American lives.
We've virtually stopped drugs coming into our country by sea. We call them the water drugs. They kill hundreds of thousands of people. I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as foreign terrorist organizations, along with two bloodthirsty transnational gangs, probably the worst gangs anywhere in the world, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is from Venezuela, by the way. Such organizations torture, maim, mutilate, and murder with impunity. They're the enemies of all humanity. For this reason, we've recently begun using the supreme power of the United States military to destroy Venezuelan terrorists and trafficking networks led by Nicolas Maduro. To every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the United States of America, please be warned that we will blow you out of existence. That's what we're doing. We have no choice. Can't let it happen. They're destroying. I believe we lost 300,000 people last year to drugs, 300,000. Fentanyl and other drugs. Each boat that we sink carries drugs that would kill more than 25,000 Americans. We will not let that happen.
Overall, Trump used the United Nations platform to deliver a clear statement of his worldview, a demand for decisive action rather than rhetoric, a call for nations to reclaim sovereignty, pressure on allies to change energy and trade behavior, hardline stances on migration and crime, and resistance to international climate policy he views as harmful. Over the course of almost an hour, he criticized opponents and international institutions, presented his priorities on multiple crises, and urged other countries to adopt tougher, more nation-centered policies. That's all for now from Global Pulse Unplugged. Stay sharp, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.